Hi, I'm Melichárek, and I'm the project lead of Silica. I started in Bohemia Interactive in 2009, where I worked on several games up until 2020, where I started making this game. I started floating the idea of an RTS and FPS mix of something equivalent to Dune 2 and StarCraft combined in about the year 2008. This was a project which I really wanted to make, and Baltarus, which is the name of the planet, is from the original idea. The initial idea behind the game was it was meant to be called Marine Mission 1, where there was meant to be a multitude of planets of varying biomes, and you were meant to fight for them through this long campaign. That was the original concept, which was way out of scope to achieve in one person. So it started actually about 2008, where I started developing it in the Doom 3 engine as a mod. But then I kind of cancelled that very quickly, where it was just very clear that the technology was out of date. And so instead I jumped back into it in 2018, 10 years later, ironically. And yeah, that's where I started. I started doing it in my own free time in the evenings, and it grew until it became a full-time project in 2020. Bohemia Interactive got involved in the year 2020, where I showed the project in a prototype phase to Marek Spaniel, the CEO, and he liked it, and we agreed that it would make sense to make this as a separate project outside of Bohemia Interactive itself. Silica became part of Bohemia Incubator when it was decided that we would make this project full-time under the Bohemia Incubator flag, published through Bohemia Interactive. What I find to be a big benefit of going through Bohemia Incubator versus developing it solo is that you get publishing support, marketing support, and all that, which you really would not get if you were developing it on your own. I initially planned to have this project done within 5 years, doing it free time, but in retrospect, I see that was not a very realistic example or realistic timeline. In reality, that would have taken much longer. So thanks to the way I can work here, I can get it done much faster. We chose early access for initial Silica release because we want to gather feedback, see how you guys play the game, what you enjoy, and adjust the game accordingly. And we're sticking to early access for 1 year with several major updates planned. The current state of the game involves 3 factions, Sol, Centauri, and Aliens, features 3 game modes, Prospector, Strategy, and Arena, and is fully playable in all 3 game modes, in both single player and multiplayer with friends, for example. During early access, we want to focus on improving what we have, as well as adding some additional features such as flying units, improving the AI overall, and adding localization. What I would say makes Silica unique from other projects is the seamless blend of RTS and FPS. It's a vast open world with realistically sized units and buildings, and if you play as RTS, it feels like an RTS. If you play as FPS, it feels like an FPS. There's realistic ballistics, damage, and so on. So everything kind of combines to give a unique experience, at least in my opinion. I chose to go with Unity because it's really easy to develop in. I enjoy the language, I enjoy working with the tools, and at the time, Enfusion, which I was very familiar with, wasn't ready for these individual projects. It was heavily under development with Armor Forger. For me, the most fun part of development was definitely implementing the aliens. Implementing the crabs, how they can walk on walls and they can cluster in this big group and swarm in a vehicle, for example, that's very fun for me. I'd say the most challenging part of developing Silica was the multiplayer element, making sure to not put too much information through the network, bogging it down, while at the same time handling, a large ping rate, for example, 300 milliseconds when I play with my brother who's in Australia. So definitely that was the biggest challenge, especially given that everything is physics-driven. So, especially the interactions between objects. So I'd say that was definitely the largest challenge. My brother really helped me during the development process, mainly due to his honesty. He was helping me test the game and so on, but because he gave me such brutal feedback at times, it was really useful in shaping the game. So definitely that's a big thanks to him. So the inspiration behind Baltarus, the planet, was definitely Mars. That was a very heavy inspiration, as well as, of course, one cannot forget Dune, specifically Arrakis. As for the aliens themselves, that's a kind of mix between Starship Troopers and StarCraft, which kind of coincide to a degree. But yeah, that's definitely the biggest inspirations for the planet and its inhabitants. My advice for new players getting into Silica would be to play with friends online. Using voice over network, you can coordinate attacks and so on. So one player can be the commander while the others players co-op on the same team, for example, or even against each other. That's the best way to play it as well. Definitely, I would like to thank my friends, my co-workers, and most importantly, my family for going through this difficult time. I spent a lot of overtime working on this project, which was time I didn't get to spend all that much with my family. So definitely my family.